ain't me. You can't catch me on the run, cause I'm gone, yeah. I blaze trails, set fire to what's behind me. No, I'm never looking back, I'm on the run. I could only ever be what I'm made to be. It feels good when I'm living on the edge. Watch me now, roll like thunder, gonna sacred ground. Can't stop me now, I don't give up and I won't back down. I'm a force of nature, can't be contained. I got lightning running all through my veins. Watch me now, watch me now.
Hi, I'm Wyatt Milam. I'm from Canova, West Virginia. When I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Par-Mar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Par-Mar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Par-Mar stores.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Law offices of Mark Plants and Kevin Davis. First line of defense. Buzzballs, ready-to-drink cocktails. #1 single-serve premixed brand in the U.S. Buzzballs, have a ball. And hello and welcome, and yes, have a ball, Buzzballs right there. And it was a ball eventually on Saturday as the Mountaineers defeated the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Yeah, you gotta like just saying that, right? I asked you last week, are the Mountaineers for real? Regardless, first team, second team quarterback, doesn't matter. Yes, the question is they are for real, and they are 3-1 right now. The question is, how can they keep this going? They won ugly 2 weeks in a row. Does it matter? Yeah, it does matter because they won. And I put this out in tweets. I've said this many times. Ugly wins teaches lessons. In fact, it can keep you kind of humble, if you know what I'm saying, because there's a lot to be corrected on from the film. As we're going to learn about the film today, watching the offense. And there's a lot of things that the offense could have done better, but there's some things that the offense did pretty good, and I'm going to show that to you today, and we're going to focus that. Hey, listen, man, they got some stuff to them. They got some moxie. They got some, a little bit of stuff coming out of their neck that's just like spewing out a little bit, right? A little intensity. You got to like it. You got to like the fact that a true redshirt freshman quarterback, a redshirt freshman quarterback, all right, is leading this team to the last 2 victories. Telling you, that's impressive. Not only do ugly wins teach lessons, all right, a win teaches confidence, regardless. And every time those Mountaineers win, 3 times this season, when they were picked 14th, guess what they did? They won. And that builds their confidence, regardless of who was at the quarterback, right? And they felt actually pretty decent amongst themselves about going out to Penn State on national TV and not embarrassing themselves. So, again, where can you take this? What can you do? How do you build on this? Well, I think the first thing you have to do, honestly, is on offense, you say, well, we only had this many yards. Okay, fine. But you did what you had to do to win. But let's get Nico or Garrett, whoever it is, some help. What do I mean by that? Well, in the passing game, all right, the running game is doing great. And, Nico was actually the leading rusher on the team. But you need the wide receivers to step up. This is an 11-man game on one side of the ball. That means that 2, 3, possibly 4 receivers, including the tight end, all have to be there and ready to catch that ball. Yes, you can go ahead and run, which they proved that they can do, but you also have to help out. I counted 7 drops on the field, and some at critical times. You say, well, oh my gosh, Nico, he's a freshman now. He's like, there's some shots there that were right there. I mean, right there. You say 2 interceptions. Yeah, 1. That first one, ooh, Nico, let's not do that too often because that wasn't good. But the fact is that second one, no, I had nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. Don't just shake that right on off. And for the other receivers, help your teammate out. Help your teammate out. Get off that press coverage. And that's one of the things that they can do better. These receivers, get off press coverage. Find a way to beat man coverage. I haven't seen it in 5 years. I haven't seen it. It's all about effort, speed, skill, but again, get away from it. Beat your man. You say the same thing to a center, Zach Frazier. Beat your man. You say the same thing to C.J. Donaldson or running back Jalen Henderson. Beat your man. Well, wide receivers, beat your man. Division I, right? Let's go. We got Division I receivers here. Yes, there are Division I corners, and those guys, I told you, all coming in. I broke all of Texas Tech down. They did exactly what I said that they were going to do. For most, but I shouldn't say exactly. That's a silly comment. They did a lot of what I said that they were going to do. But boy, did I tell you, they were going to press in those receivers and try to take that away. Thank goodness for the tight end. Again, I still think you should be targeting him 10 times. But I do believe that Nico is 12 for 21. Get him help. Because you know what? This team could really use it on offense and the defense. All right, now listen. The defense played really well those first 3 quarters. But I'm telling you, Texas Tech started to open up there in the 4th quarter, and it was all holds barred, just hanging on to the end. When the defense, they're going to have to go ahead. I'm going to show you that tomorrow on film as well. So again, all right, this team is in good shape, but you got to do things better because you're not going to be able to win them all. I said this to Neil Brown right after on a tweet. I did not tag him or nothing because I don't want to light up his phone. He's got enough issues to worry about, nor probably does he care what I think. But I will say this, is that those last 2 wins, man, I'm telling you the truth, straight up, all right, that hot seat just got a little bit cooler. But you got to keep winning, man. And I know, and I see you fighting. I see this team fighting. I see this team is better in the tackling, their basic fundamentals, tackling. I see this team is better in their basic fundamentals of blocking. I see game management is good enough to be 3-1. Still scratching my head sometimes. 4th down call. You can't do it all the time, go for it all the time. You got to have some common sense in there, which I sometimes. But it's your team. It's your team to win. It's your team to lose. And with that, you're 3-1. So, again, first-time victory over Texas Tech. I know that's got to mean a lot to you, and that's congratulations to you for that. So, again, the hot seat's not gone. The jury's going to be there all season. But I think someone just threw you a couple ice cubes to suck on, and hopefully that made your can feel a little bit better. So, good job there. Good job on the victory. Now, remember, these 2 out of 3 games against Power 5 have been at home. This is the first week now that they have to go out on the road and go to TCU. Now, they did win 2 years ago at TCU, one of the first 2 games that the West Virginia Mountaineers have won. But with that being said now, I got what I want to give help to your teammates just a little bit. Catch those balls, get the first downs, move the chains. This young man, I'm going to show you on film. My gosh, he has a world of talent, but he's going to make mistakes. It's not going to be all perfect with Nico Marchio. It's not going to be all perfect. He's a freshman. Help him out, especially you older dudes. Older dudes. I think I made myself clear. Good job. All right. And with that being said, we got a panel today. We got a 2-man panel. I'm going to call it the Fabulous Two, the Fabulous Duel. And then, of course, we're going to start out, and we're going to go with author-historian Frank Fear. Frank, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Wolf. As always, you're looking good. What you said, spot on. Perfect. Perfect.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And, well, here now I got to come to my old coach now, so maybe he's going to have something else to say here. But we got Al Johnson. He's a strength coach of, oh, gosh, about everything, Hall of Fame, USA strength coach. He just is, he's a dude that's been around since ever, although he's not as old as that, but he's amazing. So, Coach Johnson, what is going on?
Hey, Wolf, how you doing? Hey, Frank, how you guys doing? Boy, what a great weekend. Hey, isn't it amazing how much more you smile after a big win like that?
Yeah, it really is. And I say this, not only am I smiling, but it's the hotel people, it's the restaurant people, it's all the people that when you're winning as a program and you're relative, that means that people are coming and supporting local businesses, supporting businesses throughout the state. So, Frank, I mean, I know you know a lot about that. Every time you get a win, and it's not just a horrible season, man, you're doing a lot for not only Morgantown economy, but you can go out throughout the entire state.
Yeah, there's no question about that. It lifts up the university and the state, and obviously the alums and supporters around the country, and we need that. I mean, I thought we had a good chance of going 3-1, and boy, I'll tell you, this weekend's game is going to be so critical to keep it going.
Frank, did you just say you thought the Mountaineers are going to be 3-1 at the end of this 4-game stretch?
Yeah, on your show, I predicted that they'd win 3 games at home.
All right,
but I will say this: I didn't know. I don't want to use the word bad, but how Pitt would struggle, and obviously they struggled last weekend against North Carolina. They got hit pretty hard.
What was the final score of that again?
It was something like, was it 41-20 or something like that?
Yeah, let me take a look. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, it was not close. And then
41-24, just so you know.
I'm sorry, what was that?
41-24.
Yeah, I knew it was pretty significant. And then Texas Tech, the word I'm thinking of is defense. When I think about what that quarterback Morton did to us last year with those throws, coming in also in relief, they had 600 total yards in that game against WVU last year. We cut that in half this time. So I think you put all that together, it's not that we're winning alone. It's the fact that we're beating teams that had beaten us.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Coach, when you look at it, just check this out right here. I'm going to throw this up. And, we're going to throw this up, these stats here, so that everybody can see, not just me. And we'll go ahead here and do that. There we go. All right, so we start out here with Nico, right? 15 attempts, 78 loss. Okay, 72 yards. Hey, 5 yards per carry, right? I mean, it's not too bad. He did go down a couple times in sacks, but that's your leading rusher. Who thought that a 6'1" redshirt freshman at 231 pounds now? 200. He looks pretty good running the ball, does he not, Al?
There's no question, but the thing I'm amazed at, and I didn't get a chance to see the game. I was at the Oklahoma at Cincinnati game Saturday, but I saw these stats. My question was, if Garrett Green couldn't go and Nico was playing the game, I just worry about running the quarterback that much, possible injury, and you injure the number 2 guy, But I mean, that's impressive. I mean, almost 5 yards of carry. That's a tailback playing quarterback.
Yes, but too, though, that Frank will say this: Nico, he's 6'1.5". He's 230 pounds. And, when I show you the film later on, you're going to be like, man, he carried some guys on his back. But really, really impressive for a young guy. Again, that first interception, bad choice. He didn't see that guy. He threw it. But, again, I didn't think that was quite the way that you should introduce a first-time quarterback throwing the ball into the game. What say you, Frank?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you look at that play and replay, not a good look at all. And, I understand where you're coming from, Al, in terms of running. But, time of possession is going to be really critical this week at TCU. You got to keep the ball away from those guys. That's not a headline. Everybody knows that. And so your quarterback's going to have to run. What you said, Wolf, in the intro is spot on. You got to get these wide receivers involved. In fact, when I looked at it, I think that Carter, Gallagher, Fox, Braham, and Clement had only 6 catches last Saturday. Cole Taylor had, I think, 3. So you got to get these guys involved in the game, and you got to play ball control.
Yeah. I'm looking at this. So we had 6 sacks, or one, excuse me. One sack against Nico. That's not too bad, Al, when you're thinking about this Texas Tech team. And, I really thought, honestly, that, they did everything they could. I was watching the game film. They had 7, 8 guys in the box, and the Mountaineers were still able to run against them. That is an incredible sign.
Wolf, one thing too. I tell you what, I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch the Coach Brown's press conference today.
No.
I tell you, something he mentioned was 2 things he mentioned I thought was very interesting. He said that they played a lot of guys at receiver. He said, going in now to this week, they're going to start. They probably cut some reps down and probably streamline the rotation a little bit with the receivers. And this is the first time all year that I felt like, and I haven't watched all the press conferences, but the one thing I picked up on today was energy, enthusiasm, and Coach Brown talking about, and him having a pep in his step, but talking about being contenders for the Big 12 title. And I thought that was impressive. He said that today. I mean, what I'm saying, hey, we're 3-1. He goes, we have a good football team. We just got to continue to get better. But, if we're going to contend and continue on the path we are, I mean, obviously we've got to improve. But I thought that was a shot of enthusiasm and hope. And, I think there's something good has come out of this 4-game series. And I think, like Frank has mentioned a couple of times, I think that the confidence you built by playing Penn State, and Penn State appears to be probably one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the country.
Frank, I'm sitting there going, all right, so ugly wins teaches confidence, not just to the players, but maybe to the coaches as well there, Frank. Listen, Neil Brown has not said anything about being a contender. He was always been talking about not finishing 14th. And now he mentions that word. I'd say he's not saying we're contenders. I get Al. I think I'm trying to paraphrase what you're saying, Al, but I think he just mentioned it for the first time about being a contender. That's a big swing.
There's a major swing. And the other thing he said? We're no longer 14th. We're no longer 14th in the conference.
Well, all right there. Let's slow your britches down, Coach, because you got to finish the season, but we'll take one game at a time. Frank, what do you think about that when he says that they're no longer 14 and they're thinking about possibly being contended? Because everybody should start out saying we want to win the conference championship. That should be our first goal as a team every single time.
No, you're absolutely correct. I don't think it's it's not a matter of thinking. You can just look at the numbers. It's not a pipe dream. WVU is in the race, especially, if you look at what comes immediately after Fort Worth. We're playing Houston and then Oklahoma State. Those teams, ESPN has those teams on their power index, as I'm talking about Oklahoma State and Houston, in the bottom 5 of the conference. As West Virginia number 7, but you'd knock off TCU, and then, boy, I'll tell you what, it comes down to games later in the season, specifically against Oklahoma. But it's something. I think it's something to crow about. It's not a pipe dream; it's a possibility.
Yeah. Al, when you heard that conference today with Coach Brown, did he say anything to you about with Nico and the drops?
No, didn't really mention that. I mean, he praised Nico and thought he managed the game well, and thought that Nico wasn't as high on his performance as wasn't very high on his performance. Obviously, thought he should have been better, but Coach Brown kind of sang his praises, I thought, and said that, hey, for his first time start, that you thought he did pretty well.
Well, he did pretty well when he considered that he have 7 drops. So you're 12 of 21, right?
Yeah.
I believe that was the stat, 12 of 21. What is that? Come up 60%? Figure right around there. 60% is at least the minimal goal that you want.
Yeah.
And I think for a first-time dude doing that, again, Pitt, he was still above the 60 or 50, 55%. I can't remember what it was at Pitt. But again, but when I watch his ball, Frank, when I watch what he does some really unique things that a redshirt freshman quarterback, you can only do if you have a gift.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and everything is comparative. When you compare him to Morton, who has experience, I mean, this guy's not a rookie. He was 13 for 37 on Saturday night. 13 for 37. He had a 16 quarterback rating. And here's a guy, Nico, who essentially doesn't have a lot of reps, either in practice or in game situation. He managed the Pitt game really well, and he hung in there and threw some really good balls, made some mistakes. It's going to happen, but you're absolutely correct. But, the guy's got leadership moxie. He's been there in high school. He understands what it takes to win, and that really helps because he has a lot of confidence in himself, but he also knows it's going to take time, experience, just as it did with Major Harris, as you've pointed out. He didn't set the world on fire coming in immediately, but once he had some experience under his belt with all the talent he has, man, oh man, did he take off.
Yep. Hey, Coach Al, think about that because you were there with Major Harris, and what Frank just said, the ability for him to get better, what you see. I mean, he just won 2 games against Power 5 teams. No matter how bad they could say they are, let's not even worry about that argument. He just won 2 Power 5 games as a starting quarterback. And what does that do for him? But what do you see in him that has had to been special? I mean, it's you can say all you want, the defense played strong, and that's great. Yes, they did. But, I mean, Nico was there. He made the plays when he had to. He made them. He scored the points. He got it done. And, I'm telling you, a redshirt freshman that you don't go 2-0. He's 3-0 going back to Oklahoma State now because he got the most reps in the second half. In fact, last year, Oklahoma State was up 7-3 when Nico came in. Now, Nico coming in, he is 3-0 as a player, not as a starter, 3-0 as a player when he got the majority of the reps. What does that say about this young man?
Well, two things come to mind. One is confidence. I mean, you're going to see what's awesome. I mean, for West Virginia, I mean, is to be able to have. I mean, you're talking about your backup quarterbacks coming in and having some success, but the confidence that he has in himself and his teammates have in him, and the trust that he's building with his receivers, tight ends, running backs, and offensive line. I mean, that's the thing, that they can trust him, and I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, that's the biggest thing that maybe you can't measure. That kids on the team know that, hey, when he comes in, we know we can play and sustain, play at a high level. But like you said, he came in, he played to a touchdown pass, was a leading rusher. I mean, that to me speaks volumes. And I think going forward, I think you're going to have a battle. As he continues to mature and grows and has confidence, you're going to have a great situation quarterback. There could be a battle.
Frank, when I watch and I break down Nico, and trust me, I am watching every single play he does, and I am criticizing or I'm giving props or something. Just when I say criticizing, it's called constructive criticism, meaning is that you're trying to sit there and say, you could have done this better, could have done that, this time. That's what coaches do. I'm a coach at heart. I can't help it. That's who I am. But when I watch it, I see some things that normal dudes just can't do, especially when they're young. And he's just first-time starter, just a first-time starter. And do you know that he would have been 19-21 if those passes were caught?
Yeah.
It would have been 19 of 21 if those 7 drops I counted. 7 drops. Now, he had 2 completions to the other team, and that hurts for sure. But that's all learning. And, Devin Carter said that was on him for the second one. Now, that first one, we know that was on Nico. And Nico said, I didn't see it. But you know what? That's what I'm talking about, the receivers. That was all man coverage. You got to get separation. You got to beat the guy on there. And that's the problem. If you don't have that, then you got to keep going for the checkdowns. But here's my question to you, Frank. What I see with Nico is I see a guy in the pocket. I see him going through checkdowns, all right, in the pocket. Did you see that?
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you. Who does he remind me of? I'm going to go back in time, not talk about today, because that would be the Pro Football Reference. But both of the guys I'm talking about came out of the West Coast, Arizona. Nico and Brock Purdy. As you know, I also graduated from Iowa State, so I follow the Cyclones. And I still remember Brock Purdy's coming out game. It was against West Virginia in Ames.
Oh, I was there.
Greer was a senior, and he just came out, and I still remember the crowd after the game as a freshman now, basically gathering around him. He was a freshman. I think Nico is cut of the same fabric. I think both of them are. As Al said, they're both self-confident. I mean, you look at Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, can't lose as a starting pro. And I think that Nico is cut of that same fabric, as I said. And, the team not only has to, they'll rally around him. They already have. The key is, you nailed it. I mean, Devin Carter we got to have a wide receiver who steps up and is that go-to guy. Right now, we don't. And it's to me, it's obvious. I don't know what you guys think, but that go-to guy has to be Devin Carter. But yeah, Nico, you can just see he's only going to get better. Only going to get better.
He's only going to get better. Al, what did Coach say about Garrett Green and his injury status?
He said it was a pregame decision. He didn't feel like he was. He would have been the emergency quarterback. I mean, he could have played, but he felt like in the pregame warm-up that he just did. He wasn't 100%, but he said that he would. He could have played if he'd had to.
Which probably would have just had him hand the ball off, and honestly, because that would be torture on Garrett.
The one thing too he mentioned was Garrett's ability to protect himself from injury. That's one of the things that Neil Brown and the head trainer and the quarterback coach, of course, made the decision to hold him and let Nico go. And Wolf, let me ask this question with Nico. You know him, you know the family. Does he respond better? Do you think if he'd had more time to think about starting, he would have been under more pressure personally, or do you think that he's a gamer and it wouldn't have mattered either way whether you told him 5 days ago or you told him an hour before kickoff?
I think he's a gamer. I think he's going to give his best and ready to roll whenever. There's no doubt he's a redshirt freshman. You can see there's a slight hesitation here, slight hesitation there, maybe a touch of uncertainty here and there when you break it down. But golly, guys, when I say he could have been 19 of 21 throwing, he could have been 19 of 21 throwing very easily. Very, very easily. And when you look at his passes, it's a tight spiral. It is a tight spiral. And you can say, well, his long balls that he hasn't connected yet. Well, what Nico's gone against was man coverage in these long balls. Okay, when I look at Garrett Green and the long balls, he was going against the guys Duquesne, and they weren't doing man coverage, and they weren't power 5 corners on him. And when I see that with Nico, I see, first of all, they had penalties. Number one, holding the receivers back. Number two is, though, that the ball is actually not too bad. So I think he's got a long ball. I think that everybody right now is going ahead and press coverage. And when I say press, they're just going man coverage. Let's just say that, because they can bail out. All right, forget the press. They can go man bail, but it's still man coverage. It's still hands on. It's still up in your face. It's still a challenge. And until the receivers can show, and now this goes back 4 years now. our receivers can show that they can get away from man coverage, and teams are like, we got to stop the run. We got to stop the run. I'm telling you, fellas, that there's 8 guys right around the box for Texas Tech, and the Mountaineers still ran. And they did exactly what I said you have to do sometimes. That when the numbers are not in your favor, you still have to find a way to be able to run the ball. And that's what they did. I can't say enough about that. The Mountaineers ran even when the numbers were against them, even when they had more than what they did. And now, when you watch the film again, which I'm going to show later on today, you're going to see that they have to dedicate a guy to the quarterback. Now, they had to do that with Garrett Green, too, so let's not get all crazy. But the nice thing is that we're getting to see this year with a defense dedicating a guy for that read pull by the quarterback, with both quarterbacks. You didn't have that for 2.5 years with Jared Deggy. You did not have it. All right, you didn't have it last year with JT Daniels. Everybody knew he was not going to run and pull that ball, or if he did it once, it would be like once, and he'd get 8 yards. I'll give you 10 yards one time instead of a dude that's going to go up. If I could go ahead and focus on a running back, I'll give you that one time that you pull it and give you 10 yards. That's what they're saying, defense coordinators. They can't do that anymore with Garrett or with Nico, and that's what's impressive. And so now I'm watching this game. I'm seeing 8 dudes around the box because the corners were all going press on the receivers, and they're all going man and challenging up tight. I keep saying press. I don't mean to say press every time. They were bailing as well. But again, as they're putting those guys in the box, and the Mountaineers still ran, Frank. What does that say about this offensive unit that can still run against being outnumbered?
Well, it's, the thing that's emerged, people weren't talking about it preseason very much, was that, this team now is showing it has the pieces. I like to look at the grades, and Milam and Nestor up front had grades of 73 and 68. That offensive line, those guys are bulls. So, yeah, throw everyone in the kitchen sink up there, and WVU still runs, and we got a horse running the ball in CJ, mobile quarterback. And now you're saying, wow. I think the thing you're focusing on, Wolf, if those wide receivers can get as active as they need to be, this team is going to be they're going to move from difficult scoring to very, very difficult to stop.
Al, what do you, let's just go right with you and talk about that, Al. What do you see when you see that? You are outnumbered in the box. I love it. You can see me. I'm fired up. I'm jacked because that's opposing your will on some, opposing your will and forcing them to accept it, whether they like it and as much as they defended you against it.
Well, you think about that. The odds are against you, but it shows grit, it shows toughness. It shows confidence. Once you start running the ball and you're pounding the ball and they got more guys in the box, they got 8 guys in the box and you're moving the ball. You talk about breaking the confidence of the defense. They're saying, geez, we've got them outnumbered and they're still pounding the ball on us and moving the ball down the field. What's great about that is you're taking the pressure off Nico not to have to throw the ball multiple times, but you're taking the pressure off him, and once him and Garrett get even more confident and more comfortable. And like I say, Coach Brown today mentioned that he's going to start cutting back on some of the reps. You're not going to play as many guys at receiver, so maybe you're talking about those 7 drops. Now you drop those down to 1 drop a game or 2 drops maximum. Like Frank said, this team, boy, if they can put it all together with the passing game and with the running attack they got. This looks like they're building steam and building tempo going forward into the teeth and the meat of their schedule.
Frank, I see complete accuracy from Nico. What do you see? You tell me. Well, I'm saying if the ball's right here and the ball's here and it hits their hands, to me that's accuracy. What do you see on that?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. His percentages would have been a lot better. And that's right now, that's the weakness of the offensive unit is in that wide receiving core. Because what you got with Cole Taylor. The guy is with how many teams would love to have a CJ in the backfield and a Taylor out at tight end? Those, you're looking at two pros. I mean, all night the announcers were talking about how great that running back was for Texas Tech and how he's a sure pro. Look at him do this, look at him do that. But, you're absolutely correct. I think that they can get that wide receiver situation fixed. I'm a little bit surprised that they're cutting it down a bit, because obviously Nico's got to work with, maybe it's because he's got to work with a select set of guys, and they get more comfortable with each other. The question would be, which ones will he pick? Will Brown pick, and the offensive coordinator pick for Nico? But here's a question though, Wolf. Is it a foregone conclusion with Green going out by injury? I don't know what WVU's policy is. As you know, some coaches, you never lose your position by way of injury. It's always earned on the field. Is it a sure thing that Nico's going to stay at QB?
For starting, no, I don't think so. I was just going to ask Al that if Coach Brown mentioned that, who was going to be the starter.
No, he didn't say. He said it.
I'm sure he didn't say that, but what did he allude to? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, not much. I mean, he really didn't. He didn't stay on that point very long. I mean, just said that today that Garrett had a great day, spent the day with the trainers. They're practicing. They're practicing the mornings now. Mm-hmm. Is what he said. He mentioned that, which he said they changed from preseason camp going in afternoons. That didn't make much sense to me. I mean, I don't know why. Maybe academics, the class schedules, whatever. But aren't they going into a furnace in Fort Worth? I mean, isn't it going to be hot there, above 90 degrees? I'm not going to get that at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I don't know what the rationale is there, but
isn't the game at 8 o'clock at night though, TCU?
It is.
Yeah, but it'll still be hot. It's still hot in Texas, I'm telling you.
Well, no, I believe that. You were just there, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's always hot in Texas until November, anyways.
Don't you think that Garrett will start? I mean, Garrett, if he's good to go, he'll start, right? Because the experience factor. I mean, but now you have someone in the wings that Garrett. Yeah. You got 3 and out. Boom.
Yeah. But Wolf, along those lines, this. I mean, you were an offensive player. What's the risk? Players get used to the way a ball is thrown and how it comes. You got a right-hander and a left-hander. How much of it is like starting over if we get down to TCU at 8 o'clock? And by the way, the high in Fort Worth is predicted to be 93 on Saturday, so you can expect it'll probably be in the 80s or high 70s, or probably in the 80s at kickoff. Mm-hmm. Does that make a difference in terms of how the ball comes out, the comfort of the receivers? They're getting used to one quarterback versus the other. What's your take on that?
I've heard two different versions. One is there's a difference, and the other one there's not. To be quite honest with you, I keep hearing that. I don't know who's right. I'm not a receiver. I wasn't a receiver. I would say this is that I think you can go ahead and do both, because the ball spins, so just catch the darn ball when it's spinning. That's what I say. So well, with that, I think. No, I think. What's that?
Weren't you a wide receiver in Pee Wee football?
Well, no, I was a wide receiver. When we were Coach Dalen, we'd do the offensive hogs versus the defensive lineman, the one-handed catches. We'd do that. I'd always win that one. But here's the thing, though, Al and Frank. When I look at that, and I'm seeing is, I see if there's any difference between the two of them, it's their arc. It's the trajectory of the ball. Whereas I see with Garrett, there's a higher ball to it. It's more of it's up and down. Nico's on a line, man. He's on a line, and I wonder, and I maybe to the receivers, I wonder if the problem catching the ball is because he's got a cannon. He's got a cannon, and they might have to get used to catching the cannon. You know what I mean? Listen, man. There's a different velocity. If you watch Garrett Green and you watch Nico, there's a different velocity to the throws. I think that's more worrisome than a right-handed or left-handed spin. Does that make sense to you, Frank?
Absolutely. I think and you can see that. Fans can see that. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, all right. So the last thing I want to say about what I saw on Saturday with the offense, and I don't know if Garrett Green's going to start. I believe that Neil Brown, if I had to guess, because obviously I did the radio show with him for 3 years, so I'm trying to go back and remember him. I'm pretty sure he's not going to let anybody lose their starting position due to injury unless there's a big difference. Any quarterback would be crazy to say that if it was tremendously different that Nico would go ahead. I think Nico's in a really good spot right now because if you got Garrett Green, and say Garrett Green does come back this week, but Garrett Green's got to be 100%, fellas. Now, I got to tell you this story because I think it's important. My sophomore year, I banged up my ankle, high ankle sprain, right during camp. Second day of pads, all right? All year long, I was dealing with an ankle injury. Now, I never missed a game, but I did miss a series or two because I twing it. You just hit it the wrong way and wrong angle. And it was a tough thing to have to go ahead and be on a bad ankle when you start out at the beginning of the year. Now, obviously, he didn't get it at camp, Garrett, I'm talking about. So he got it the third game of the season. You got the third game of the season, so maybe that'll be a little bit better. But I had to deal with it every single game, getting that injury. And it never got better until the season ended, and I had 2 months. And I have to worry about Garrett Green that way. I'll be honest. The guy plays on his ankle. He plays on his ankle. His strength are his ankles and his legs, and they're all connected as one. And that's what he does so well. So again, I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying I think if he can go and Neil feels comfortable with him, I think he's going to go back to Garrett because Garrett won the job in camp. I believe that. But at the same time, I don't think Neil Brown's got any problems going ahead and putting Nico in and saying if Garrett stalls and you need some, you need someone to go in there and run a big play or do something. I think Nico's there. Nico's 230 pounds. If you watch him in the game, he was carrying defenders on his back, and I swear, and people are going to just jump all over me about this, but he reminded me of a Tim Tebow. He reminded me of a guy, but he could throw the ball better than Tebow. All right, he's got a better arm than what Tebow had, but he was a Tim Tebow, that type of guy that is 230 pounds. I think people lose the thought that this guy is this big, and his spirals are so tight and strong, and he's accurate. But he's also made a couple bad decisions that you've seen thus far in the season, and he has to be accountable to those decisions, and he has to learn. Everybody has to learn, man. You don't learn until you learn. You know what that means, Coach? What does you don't learn until you learn mean?
It means until you experience it. Until he experiences it, he can't learn from not doing it.
Exactly, because you don't know until you know. Yeah. You know what I mean? Until you've been through it, right, Frank? I mean, you don't know what it's like to do something until you've done it, and there's usually many mistakes along the way until you understand. And if you could go ahead and be a superstar as a freshman, well, then God bless you and all that good stuff that goes with it. All right, but offensive. Oh, the last thing I want to put on, what I love too, and I'll go with you, Frank, on this. I love the center quarterback exchange. I love the gun, and I love the pistol, which is the running back behind the gun. All three of them working it, man. Do you know that changes the defense? It's harder for a defense instead of just going gun all the time. How many years did Neil go gun? At least 3 that he did. And what he's done, he's just added to the mix of what defenders have to prepare for, defensive coordinators have to prepare for, is that, they'll go from center quarterback. That's all different timing now. It's all different timing. And that just adds to the resume of the offense, and it makes the defense have to study and prepare harder.
You're absolutely correct. And I think it points out something that I believe needs to be pointed out. It's the scheme, but it's also the players. As you said after the Pitt game last Monday, you could see the talent difference. So when you've got C.J. Donaldson lining up you've got a C.J. Donaldson, not just a running back, but a guy who's a huge threat. And so I think the Mountaineers' talents. I mean, this Aubrey Burks, I knew Beanie Bishop because he played for Minnesota and I saw him play. But you look at that defense, the way those guys are playing, as well as the offensive line. It's schemes, definitely, but it's also talented guys that don't get as, WVU doesn't get as much credit as it needs to get in terms of the talent behind those schemes.
Very good. All right. So let's go ahead and let's flip it. And looking at the defense, you can see the Will linebacker, the freshman, redshirt. He's got 8 total tackles. And you got Lee Koba at 7, who's the team's leading tackler. But, when you look at the defense here, TFLs, you're looking at a total of 3, which was not huge. But, again, they were going with Taj Brooks as well. So,
He's good.
Well, he certainly is good. 150-some yards he had. And I swear the second or the fourth quarter, he probably had half of them at 80 or so in the fourth quarter. And again, I'm going to say this, and I'm just going to say it because that's how I feel the truth. I think the defense was very fortunate in a lot of ways. The Texas Tech was off some. But at the same time, was that because the defense did that to them? That's where you got to go ahead and say, not sure about that. So maybe the defense took it to him. But as we look at the stats here, and I see Aubrey Burks, and I watched him, and I broke down that film. I said, wow, that's pretty good. Trey Latham, this kid, the young man, is going to be good. He's going to be good. And I look at, who else who's killing it? He's killing it, and that's Mr. Lockhart, man. Mike Lockhart, who I thought last year in Georgia Tech, and I want to tell you what, he didn't have a great reputation coming from Georgia Tech as a hustler. He did. I don't mean in any way bad kid, great kid. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying a bad reputation as being a hustler. That he was a little bit lackadaisical. It probably be a nice word to say. But he doesn't look lackadaisical, Coach Al. What do you say about that?
I tell you what, it's changing venues and changing coaching, changing culture, changing competition, changing the conference you're in. I mean, it's and some guys the light switch goes off at different things. I mean, competition within the ranks, on the field, in the weight room. I mean, all these things are variables, and two with you're talking about the Lockhart guy. I mean, maybe he's matured. Maybe he wasn't mature when he was for Georgia Tech, and maybe he took maybe he just went through the motions and took it for granted of just being there. And when he came to West Virginia, I mean, those things change, and for the good and for the best of us, for Mountaineers.
What did you think, Frank, about this defense, and what stood out to you that you were impressed by?
Boy, I just love these guys. What I did is I went back and looked at last year's game against Tech, and it was over not long after it started, and we were getting bombed. Had no idea that Morton would be coming in at quarterback. But, you look at Aubrey Burks and the way he, the Penn State game was a tough game for him. But, boy, he bounced back. He graded out, at least from the perspective of Pro Football Focus, as an 80. And what you said about Latham, absolutely. And Malachi Ruffin, Lee, all these guys, Sean Martin. This is a tough. Well, look at what Penn State did to Iowa last weekend. Shut them out.
Yep.
They did not play a competitive game at Penn State, and we did. And so the defense is leading the team now. And I think what we're speculating is, with a few tweaks, particularly in terms of the wideouts and the tight ends, fine. This is going to be great. And so I love this defense and how they're playing. It just, compared to last year, wow.
If you wanted to look at one stat on defense that I think really would make a difference, because we all talked about how bad the secondary was. Even Niels admitted it. He's gone on. He said, okay. But look at this. 1, 2 pass breakups, BRUP. 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 6, that's 9. They got 10 PBUs, baby. They wouldn't have
That's
two
incredible.
PBUs last year in a game. They wouldn't have two, and they had 10. And let's go. And I have to give special announcement and special attention to Marquise Floyd. Well, I've said that he has struggled in the past, and he has, especially Texas Tech. He's struggled. Texas, he's struggled. He's missed many tackles last year. Has not done so thus far. But he had not only did he have 3 quarterback hurries, he also had a sack. Right at a TFL. Marquise Floyd, he had 3 PBUs, pass breakups. I mean, that's a game. Who got the defensive champion, Al?
What's that? Repeat.
Who got the defense? Did he mention that today?
No, he did. Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he mentioned it, but he was. It seemed more. He was more. No, yeah, probably forgot, but no, he just. No, he was proud of the defense. I mean, he kind of just threw. He just kind of praised the whole team. He wasn't. I mean, I think the big thing was with Nico and Donaldson, but just coming through. Defense. The defense stopped him when they had to.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Marquise Floyd, best game you've ever played as a Mountaineer. Best game you ever played as a Mountaineer. Most impactful game as a Mountaineer. So congratulations to the young man. I don't like criticizing young men. I don't like criticizing young brothers, but I have to do what I have to do because the Mountaineers have to be competitive and have to get better. Just like my tweets, I said it this weekend. So just so I clarify, because there was a tweet that a lot of people were commenting on, is I have zero agenda about Neil Brown. If he wins, he stays. If he doesn't win, then he goes. And that's my opinion. But I have zero agenda except for the Mountaineers to be better and to be competitive. If that's with Neil Brown, then I like him, and so much the better. If that's without Neil Brown, then that's just business. And I know he's never going to worry about paying for his dinner or paying for his mortgage again. So I don't have to worry about him that way with Coach Brown. And I mean that with all sincerity because I like Neil Brown a lot. I know that he's going to be okay because he's going to have money. At the same time, if he's not getting it done for the Mountaineers, then he can't stay there. It's just the way that this job is. It's too important. It's too important to the cooks down at Kegler's. All right? It's too important for that because they make their money on the success. It's too important for the people in security that are out there at the games and running with the security because you have to for them to employ so many and all the people and to have jobs. It's important to have this. So not only is it just about winning, it's about supporting. And that's what it all comes down to, being relative and being competitive in college football. I mean, again, if you're not winning, then all these other people as well are not winning right with you. Am I right, Frank?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, the greatest thing about this season is that it's, somebody said, I think I mentioned this on this program before, hope is not a strategy. And it really makes a lot of sense. And we were doing a lot of hoping. Yes. But now, this is really, people should be excited because okay, well, he's on a hot seat, but what you're saying is, I'm interpreting what you're saying. He's showing things now with his schemes and his approach that we didn't see before. And that's exciting. And this game this weekend, maybe the biggest game since 2018 when Will Greer was at quarterback. This is maybe the biggest game since the Texas game back in 2018. And that's exciting. It's been a long time for Mountaineer fans.
Al, let's look at it this way, Coach. All right, so you're 3-1 right now. All right, let's just say, let's go with the good thing. All right, that you beat TCU on Saturday. Now you're 4-1, and now you hit the bye week. Woo! Right? You got the bye week. What's gonna happen on the bye week? That you're gonna go ahead and you rest up. You get your players back. You start 4-1. This team's gonna be just smoking in confidence at 4-1, and then you come out and you got to play Houston, right? If you don't sandbag it and screw up, that should be a victory right now. That's what I see with what I see from them. So again, you could be 5-1 playing Oklahoma State, who is not Oklahoma State of the past, all right? And you beat them last year, and you ended their 14-game win streak, and it's home and it's homecoming. I mean, honestly, when you think about the scheduling of these first 7 games, right? 5-1, be 5-6. All right, first 7 games. It's pretty WVU favored when you look at the teams that you got by Penn State, but then you had Duquesne and a bad Pitt team, and Texas Tech, who you haven't beaten 4 years, but they didn't play that good. But you smacked them. You made them not play that good. And then you go ahead, and now TCU is the difference. Now we know that their defense is not the greatest because Colorado showed that, but their offense is pretty good though as well. But that's the game. What happens if you go 4-1 after that? Where can you go from there?
Sky's the limit, because I tell you what, it's what the best thing, like when we mentioned this in the preseason, I mean, you have no respect. No one, you're an afterthought. Teams playing against you, thinking some of these kids on these other teams are looking and saying these guys are the doormats of the Big 12, ranked 14th going into the season. And if you can come out of this game, you're 4-1. You've completed right up to now. You've completed 1/3 of the season. You get this when you're 4-1. You get that open week, like you mentioned. You recover. You build recovery in. You tweak and work on some things that the teams going forward, and you won't. I don't think you have to show it against Houston, but some things they haven't seen. And I think that you got so much flexibility. We're talking about offense. You got some things now that you've got some teams have got to really do some deep dive preparation for the Mountaineers. And I'm saying you've got a confident football team. And if you can get this one Saturday, I mean, wow, sky's the limit. I mean, just as long as they keep playing one snap at a time, one play at a time, one game at a time, don't look at the schedule. I mean, if I was Neil Brown, I'd cover up the rest of the schedule. The only game you could see on that schedule, if you have it posted in your building, would be TCU.
That's right. Well, that's what
I'd play him. I wouldn't even let him look for it. I wouldn't even let him talk about the next week. It'd only be this week.
Well, no, but that's what we're here for.
That's right. Hey, we're the projectors going forward. But
exactly.
But I think
we're the troublemakers.
Yeah, we're the rabble-rousers. The whole thing trying to just shake things up. But I think this could be a dangerous team. I mean, as you go forward.
And let me say this. Let me end this with you too, Frank. And I also said, and again, I always get into it, and I always get myself in trouble on Twitter. I should X gets me in trouble, and not really, because I actually have fun with it. But people are always like to respond, but what I said is that getting off the hot seat, the guy said it cooled down. He's not even close to being anywhere near, because that's a fair statement. This is a fair, truthful statement. But what happens? They're like, listen, if he doesn't win 8 games, then he's not going to stay. And then my argument is, wait a second, hold on here now. All right, there's a $13 million buyout after this. All right, that's just for Neil Brown. That's not his staff as well. That's $13 million. That's number one. Number two is, if the team is fighting and they're competitive and they only win 70 games, or even if it's let's just say they go play Oklahoma down to the nitty gritty and they lose the last second, right? Or some kind of game like that. I think it's about the perception of the team, because when you look at everything and their tackles, their blocking, game management, all those things, is that not up for consideration? It's not a hey, you got to win 8 games or nothing. Hey, you got to look at the whole picture.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. It is the whole picture, and it's not just on the field, it's off the field, as you pointed out. But I think what I'm seeing fans do now, the worm has turned on social media. I see many more people coming out and defending Neil Brown, and also, defending Nico, because on social media, there were a lot of criticisms of him on his play. And people came out and said, wait a minute now, give this guy a break. He's a redshirt freshman and so on. But, we saw what happened to Colorado last week. They came down to earth by going out to the West Coast and playing.
Rubber hits the road, man. Rubber hits the road.
Yeah, exactly. Well, TCU, I think, has done the pirouette from the CU game. They got a terrific quarterback in Chandler Morris. A lot of people don't remember he transferred from
I
Oklahoma.
do.
This guy has an 80 QBR. They've got a good linebackers. They've got good safeties, and I'll tell you what, 2 great tight ends, and they may have, if not the best kicker in the country, he's certainly one of the best. The guy is nails over 40 yards, and he's playing at home. So this is going to be a real test. I don't think we're going to get what we saw against Pitt and what we saw against Texas Tech. This is, and if I'll tell you, if the Mountaineers come away from Fort Worth with a win, nobody's going to be talking about Neil Brown and is he on the hot seat anymore. They'll give him the chair, and not the hot chair, a very nice chair to sit on.
Oh, good one there. All right, so good. Excuse me, I almost swallowed everything down the wrong tube there, the water. All right, but so let's go, Al. Let's talk about this, man. I say Neil's still on the hot seat by far because I know I'm going to get people going, well, if he's on the hot seat, he's good. But it's not 8 games or bust. It's all about what Ren Baker and probably some donors and the guys on the board at WVU and probably President Gee, what they see, because again, there's still a $13 million payout here. And again, before anybody says it, I'm stating the truth. I'm stating the obvious. These are what they have to consider. As a professional athletic director, you don't sit there and say 8 wins or you're fired and you got to have $13 million payout. You're going to look at this and you're going to do your job. Right now?
There's no question, Wolf. I mean, it's at the end of the day, with $13 million buyouts, it's a lot of consideration is going to be about the money, obviously, because you're talking about the school itself. What are we at? $45 million in debt. So, $13 million is going to play a big part in it. But I think it's going to be how you finish the season. And if his team can get 7 wins, he's not going anywhere. He's back for next year, I believe.
Think so? Okay.
And they show improvement. And if they show improvement, which they have thus far with a third of the season over, and like Frank said, with this game Saturday, I mean, this is going to be, this past week obviously was a big game. But I think this week here, you may say, see if you're really legit. I mean, how good was Texas Tech? TCU's pretty good. They've recovered from that first game against Colorado. So this will be another big test. But if they can get this one, I think it'll do a lot in terms of Coach Brown's seat, make it a little cooler.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to state that what I'm going to say is he has not proven yet that he can be successful. I think the jury needs to be there most of the season, if not all, to make an honest assessment. And I think that's just being a good, professional of doing what you're doing, respecting your job, doing your job all the way, doing it to the nines, so that you are responsible to the people you are responsible to, meaning Mountaineer Nation, meaning to your president, all that, you have to go ahead and you have to dive and do a big full dive on this to make sure, because you know what? Again, I keep saying this, time is of importance for the future of WVU. Whatever you do, these next moves, it's got to be for WVU in the way in athletics to keep relevant, maintain that relevancy. And now let's go back to real quick. Last thing. I know he said last thing. All right, but last thing, 14th in the league, and everybody was just, it was 14th worst quarterback in Garrett Green, 14th worst head coach. It was 14th in placement. I want to know who's making these darn picks. All right, because I said that to begin with. Now, I didn't like the fact that people were saying that we were 14th, because West Virginia's never been in a position where you're going to get picked last, right? We've never had that. So I didn't like that being that perception. But where did that perception come from? And all these people, I guess, scum slapdicks just that point of view, because they were just slapping at nothing. They didn't know nothing. They just said it. They didn't look at Houston. They didn't look at other teams here and say, "Hey, wait a second." WVU again is when you do it, everybody just piled on. 14th worst. I was the 14th worst dude ever. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like no matter what. The best one was this. Remember this, Frank? We were the 14th worst in the Big 12. The 14th because there's only 14 teams in potential recruiting. Because
That's right.
Because we were slapdicks, right? I mean, because that's what they said.
Oh, I think there's a lesson here, and it's not just WVU. And that is, boy, if you don't do your own research, if you don't do your own study, if you don't come to your own conclusion based on some kind of reasonableness, then what happens? You're going to be basically digesting what other people are saying, and that just never works. You got to be a student. I mean, the folks who watch your show, I know a number of these folks personally. There's Jackson Johnson. These people understand. Timothy Green does, Mike Rollins. These folks understand. They parse through this stuff, and that's what we have to do. And stop listening to the noise out there, because we all know there's a hell of a lot of noise.
I just thought it was funny that we were the 14th worst potential in recruiting.
Hey, hey, how many years does Coach Brown have on his contract? Just one?
No, he's got no. Shane Lyons extended that out. I think he's got at least 3 left.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say if you're down to 2 years, I mean, obviously it can affect recruiting because you're looking at kids coming in thinking, well, hey, if I'm a young kid coming out of high school, he could potentially not be there when I graduate. And then the other thing you guys mentioned about how do you get ranked 14th at the bottom of the conference, one guy that probably fanned those flames nationally was Kirk Herbstreit. He fanned those flames to entice and incite and just add fuel to the fire. Like, hey, these guys won't win 6 games.
Well, honestly, now listen, I did not believe that at the beginning of the season that they would go 500, and I'm saying that they still can. But listen, guys, injuries happen. A lot of things happen along the way. Remember, if you look at Pitt, was not a bad team last year, and West Virginia lost to them. And then they went ahead and beat Virginia Tech, a bad Virginia Tech team. We all know Virginia Tech's program's in the hole right now. All right, but they lost to Marshall. Congratulations, Marshall. Congratulations, Clint Trickett, Billy Legg. We love you guys, man. You're always a Mountaineer, right? So congratulations to them. Big win for them. Since 1940, first time they beat Virginia Tech. That's a big day in Marshall. All right, so when you go ahead and do that, and then you think about it, and I did think he was going to win. So I'm going to sit there and say I don't think that they're going to win 6. But I will say that after watching the first 4 weeks of the season, the Big 12 teams aren't as tough as I thought they were either. So again, and I could be wrong. And I'll be honest. I want to be wrong. I do. I want a West Virginia team that can put up 8 wins. I want that. That's well over. I don't care if I'm wrong. Screw it. I mean, I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. And I'll say that, but I mean, to have WVU go and win 8 games out of the 12 would be outstanding. Outstanding. I don't know if they're going to. I think there's still things. I think we're still thin in depth, and I'm not sold, fellas, on the secondary of the defense yet. I'm not. I am not. So I do like Beanie. I think he comes with a little bit of swag to him. I do like that. I think. But we'll see. Okay, and I do like Burks. I mean, but hey, I mean, listen, they've held 322 yards against Penn State. They didn't look great against Duquesne. I mean, honestly, they got 3 picks because Jerkovic of Pitt was horrible, and then Schaff got hurt, but they did it. So I can't argue with that. I cannot argue. It would be stupid of me to sit there and I say I want them to succeed. So that's good. It's good. But here's the test, right? You just said TCU, Frank. Here's the test. This is going to be the one that's we're going to show because the quarterback's legit.
Yeah, he is legit. And that kicker I talked about, I looked up his name. It's Griffin Kell. He's been playing college football since 2019. So this guy has a lot of experience. I mean, this is the test so far of all the teams we've played. We played tough against Penn State. That contest is holding up. But TCU, I'll tell you what, has their people have in their mindset, oh, this is the team that Colorado ran over in Fort Worth, so they just cross them off the list. You can't do that. I'm not saying they're as good as Texas or Oklahoma, and Kansas looks strong, but they're right up there, top echelon of the conference. And if WVU wants to be in that top echelon, the road starts with TCU.
Yep. And I want to say this, man, is sometimes you can't figure out a living and breathing team. And when I say that, is you can look at all the stats and you can go up there and I can go ahead. Here's the X's, here's the O's. But when the Jimmies and Joes start breathing, I mean, literally breathing on the field, all right, and then all of a sudden confidence takes over and things, you see these Cinderella seasons come about, and or not Cinderella or surprising seasons, or when they start, you can't control that. I mean, it's that takes a life on of its own in the shape of a team and a program that's going somewhere. If these guys start believing it, I mean, who knows if they would have played at TCU 2 weeks ago? But now they got confidence rolling in there, man. Now they've won 3 games in a row. I mean, you got to have let's go see. They're like, let's go see what happens. Instead, maybe it was like, hey, man, we got to go on the road here again. Tough time. We lost to Penn State. No, now they've won 3 games. So this is a living, breathing thing that's you can't control it. It's got to take its own course.
Momentum is a great thing.
Yeah.
If you think about it, watch the first 3 series of every game. Try not to follow the ball with your eyes. Try to watch the 5 guys, 3 guys, 4 guys up front on either side of the ball. Watch what happens in the trenches, the battle and the violence that's going on the first 3 series of the game. A lot of times that'll tell you, because they're each trying to establish the line in the sand, so to speak, a line on the ground. And what I'm saying, they're trying to intimidate and dominate their opponent. But a lot of times you can see what kind of game you're gonna have, especially watching the guys in the trenches, offense, defensive linemen on both sides of the ball. And that'll tell you a lot about how the game's going to go. I mean, of course, there can be freak things that happen, snaps, turnovers, etc., interceptions. But that's where you're going to see momentum, like I say, is a great thing. And hopefully the momentum's going your way.
All right. Very good. Okay, fellas, thank you so much, and appreciate everything. Hey, on Thursday, we're going to have Stephen Johnson, TCU beat writer. He's got to come on the show on Thursday at 4 o'clock, and we got some big guests coming up here in the next couple of days. And listen, guys, anytime you want to come on and give us your predictions, you got an open invitation, right? All right, thanks. Oh, Frank, let's do this for you, buddy. Let's get this on up here, the sports column. Here we go. Frank, sports column. Guys, go ahead, Frank. Take over. Tell us real quick about it.
Well, thanks. Always appreciate the support. This is a fan site. What I mean by that is we don't have a staff. And so everything we publish is submitted by people from around the country and across the world, actually, because we have fans who write about Formula One from overseas. They write about, a variety of sports, cricket even. I mean, we're open access. So we certainly encourage fans out there to write about West Virginia, write about Big 12, submit it. There's a submission portal. You get right on our homepage. There's no cost. We do this as a public service. Nobody gets paid for it. But, I fell in love with the concept when a colleague of mine, Brett Dickinson, out of Radio Personality then, now he's executive director of a NFL-linked foundation, came up with the idea 13 years ago. And so I'm managing editor. So we really encourage people. It's a way for you to express yourself more than just a comment on Facebook or a response to an article somebody else has written.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Coach Johnson, Al Johnson, man, appreciate you, what you're doing. And Coach, hey, tell us, the Chief Development Officer, or go ahead and explain real quick, just so we can get you in there and people can go ahead and see how they can go ahead and register with you and do the good things if they're in your field of business.
Yeah, I'm work for the Collegiate Strength Conditioning Coaches Association. we're based out of Austin, Texas. I'm actually in Tennessee. I work remotely, but what I do is try to find new sponsors, exhibitors, and try to contribute to education and research of building and developing better strength conditioning programs throughout the country at the professional, college, and high school level. And so I'm in contact. In fact, been on the road these last 5 weeks, traveling to visit strength coaches and companies all over the country.
Oh, you're nothing but a weight head.
Well, yeah. In my other life I was.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much. God bless you, man. And we will see you next time if we don't see you this week. All right.
Thank you, Wolf. Good
Thank
to see
you
you
guys. Have a
now.
great week. Thank you. Take care.
Everybody.
All righty. Oh, that's awesome. Hey, I tell you, that's fantastic right there. And if these guys are coming in each and every week and breaking it down, WVU, you gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. And I'll tell you this, man, is that this team gotta have confidence, go in there, lay it on the line against TCU. Why not? We got big things coming on. I told you that Stephen Johnson, beat writer at TCU, is coming on. He's going to tell us on Thursday. Friday, we'll have the breakdown, cover 2 data. Hey, by the way, cover 2 data, I didn't show you this right here. There you go. Yeah, winner, chicken dinner, man. You see that right here coming up? There you go, right there. Oh, I missed it. There you go. Let's see. Let me get it back here, right? You see this? There you go, right there. Let me blow that baby up. Cover 2 data, part 3. You can see right here above the line. Check it out. Not everything it hits on analytics. You got to have a little bit of knowledge up here of the team. All analytics can do is give you an inclination about what you think. But if you see above and the 3 bets, it was winner, chicken dinner. All right. Again, we'll have that covered too. Jeff Davies will be on Friday as well. So a lot of things happening here. Really happy about that. Let's go ahead and see what else we have here for our QR codes. Let's get it out here. The last battery, Paul Mini, go ahead and QR code that. You'll never buy another AA battery. To me, that is just like unbelievable. Never QR. And then you have here, Johnny Cantwell, United Purpose, Bold and Strength, United West Virginia, man. There you go. A lot of things happening there. Stay tuned for this because there's going to be a lot coming up here. And you're going to see John Cantwell. He's doing things in Atlanta and really cool. So check that out. And it's United Purpose. And, of course, Artisan Grange Company. It's just easier for a hemp dipper. I know, I'm a hemp dipper. All right. It's just easier because there's no nicotine. There's no tobacco. It's not bad for you. It's good stuff, man. And I like it very, very much. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's break down some video. I got going with those guys and to be quite honest with you, they give me such good information, such talk that I really enjoyed it. And I was thinking, you know what, man, maybe I don't even need to do the video today. But I'm going to go ahead and give a shot. How about this, though? We got to do the reviews here, huh? This is something cool. I'm doing this for, I like Timothy Green's a big supporter here. And he goes ahead and he does this. Let's hide that. Let's jump this baby up here, right? There we go. You see Rich Finster right there. Said, I subscribed for a good while to the WolfMan's Call. I want you to subscribe here to WolfMan's Call. Look forward to the shows every day. Very seldom am I able to catch the live show. How I appreciate all the work you do. Bring us all the amazing content. I will be at Tech tomorrow, section 133. Let's go, Mountaineers. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate that very much. I thought that was very kind to you because I put a ton of work into this to bring you excellence if I can. Excellence is what the name of the game is here. And when you sit here with Timothy Green, always loving the Wolfman Show and all the wonderful guests he has. Let's go, Mountaineers. Beat Tech. Yeah, that's pretty cool right there. And I appreciate it and all the support that you show it. And what so many show, I could go, you go Kelly McCormick. I mean, just down the line. So many cool things for everybody. And what I'm really trying to get at is I really appreciate it because we're making moves and we're trying to take this to the next level. And what I mean by that is, to go ahead and there's the company line. All right, there's the line. You got the company line. You have the line of, let's see here. The company line, you got the idiot line, I guess, for lack of a better term. And then, it's what it's all about. So, I think it's important. And I think it's important that we just go ahead and continue to get better. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this off. We'll do more tomorrow. We'll break down the offense and a little bit of defense with Nico. But I just wanted to cover that as well with all of what you just saw right there today. Frank and Al were truly excellent. So I want to keep the show down. It's about an hour and a half. So let's go ahead and throw it out there. And let's see here. We got here the network. There you go. How about this, huh? Right there. All right. Let's do this. Archies up in East Carson Street in Pittsburgh, PA. Great wings. We appreciate your support, being part of the WolfMan's Call Network. How about Route 22 Sports Bar, Weirton, West Virginia? Big shout out to you. And then at Calacino's there at Beckley, Pizzeria and Sports Bar. And then how about Cantrell's down in Hinton, West Virginia, River City Grill and Pub. Love all the seafood stuff they got going on there. Legends Sports Bar and Grill, Cheat Lake, Lakeview Resort, Aaron Gizzy. Danny's down in Princeton, right there. Boy, I tell you what, they love to watch football down there at Danny's Bar. Unbelievable. Can't wait to get down there. Kegler's Royalty, or Morgantown, always doing everything for WVU. And then, of course, you have Jimbo's place there, Buckhannon, and also in Elkins, West Virginia. Jimmy Pointer, what's up, man? You guys are great. So nice you did it twice. The Mason Jar Barbecue and more, Steve Reese, Fairmont, West Virginia. And then you have the Pallet Bar down in Scott Depot, Taze Valley. Say hello to Haley and everybody, the gang there, and great appetizers there, great craft beers. And they're doing a great job in promoting, and everybody here is doing a great job in promoting the Country Roads Trust Lager there. Good job. So Brickside, Rob Davis there, Bridgeport, West Virginia, 30 beers on tap. Fantastic. You got the Pitch down there in Dunbar, West Virginia. Fantastic place. Love the food. Love all that. And you got the Jar and Hotspot Salute in Morgantown. New people running it, but Steve Reese is telling me that they're going to be amazing. So, again, we have all that. I think we covered everybody there on the network. Very good. Very good. And with that, I think we're just going to go ahead and close out. And let's see here. What do we want to hear from who? Well, we know who, right? That's right. Closing commercial. We got Zach Frazier, the best center in all of college football. Zach Frazier.
Hi, I'm Zach Frazier from Fairmont, and when I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Parmar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Parmar stores.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Buzzballs, ready-to-drink cocktails. #1 single-serve premix brand in the U.S. Buzzballs. Have a ball. Stationers, #1 office supplier in West Virginia. Always in stock. How many? The anywhere, anytime chargers, powering a connected world. Never buy AA batteries again. Rechargeable 500 times plus. Paul Mini AA USB lithium battery, as easy to charge as your cell phone. Sustainable energy. Stay charged. Go green, save green. Feel the power of Paul. Order now at paulmini.com.
West Virginia United.